There she goes. And then, in 1928, my dad and mother got divorced. And then there was some people in the neighborhood that moved in, and they, I don't know why or how it come about, but they decided to take us under their wing, Mama and us kids. There's 5 of us. So they took us under their so-called wing, and their last name was Bell. And then we started roaming around all over, going from post to pillar to post, as they say.
Yeah.
So Belle is not your birth name?
Huh?
Belle is not your birth name?
No.
Bab.
Bab is my birth name.
Bab.
Yeah.
But she's Aylo Belle now.
From Bob. So.
And this Bell, he was of course I was pretty young and didn't know everything, but I since then I kind of figured he was kind of a crook.
Oh, really?
Because he's always having a fire. Some building had burned down, then we'd move.
Oh.
And then we'd go somewhere else, and then we'd move. And there'd be a fire, and then we'd move. And the last fire, I remember, we lived in Valentine, Nebraska. And the Bells lived on one side of the street, and we lived, Mom and us kids lived in a house on the opposite side of the street. And we had a little dog named Trixie. Well, for some reason or other, they had us kids, Mom and us kids, go over to the Bells and spend the night. That's when the house burned.
Wow.
Trixie with it.
Oh, no.
Honey.
Trixie was the dog.
Yeah. Oh, is that pillow slipping? I can help you there.
I guess Grandma forgot how to hold babies.
I got it. It's on a string.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There we go. So Trixie went with, huh?
Yeah,
That's
she
sad.
died in the fire.
Yeah.
Oh, she just don't want that. That's all there's to it.
Yeah.
Maybe she don't want me.
She might have a little tummy ache. I can bounce her for a minute. Nebraska?
Yeah, that was in Valentine, Nebraska. And then from there, well, old Mark Bell and his son Elmer, he had kids. There was Elmer and Hazel and Mona and, let's see, Thelma and Oliver.
Okay.
And they came from, originated from California. And anyway, Elmer was a school teacher, and so was Hazel. But anyway, they were gone for a few days, and then he came back and loaded us up in an old international truck. He hauled us kids in the back of the truck.
Down the street like a cattle or something.
Yes, and we went up to Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. And while they were gone, they built a kind of a house, just a shell of a house, and so we were in that. And we had a few chickens, and they were putting up. It was getting towards evening, and they were hurrying up and building a little shelter for the chickens, and they couldn't wait to get in it. And it's a good thing because there were coyotes around there.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's where we were when my mother got real bad sick, had to go to the hospital. She had a hysterectomy. She was in pretty bad shape, and she sneaked a message back here to her dad, Wyatt Curtis, and to come and get us, because us kids you know, we were back there, she was worried about what had happened to us, you know.
Yeah.
So Uncle Claude, that's Mama's brother, he lived over by Prairie Brook. He come out there, he and my step-grandmother, to get us kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so he took us to Coggin, Claude did, and Grandma stayed with my mother at the hospital.
Yeah.
And then when she was ready to come home, why, Claude went back out and got him.
Mm-hmm. So how old were you then when you got here to Coggin?
13.
13.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you stayed?
Huh?
You liked it so much you just stayed?
Yeah, well, yeah, there was, you know, and I was behind in school. There was no school up there in the Indian Reservation for us kids to go to. I was way behind in school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in March when we came here. And I went to school, and oh, I felt awful. Those kids were so much littler than I was. And I'd only been to the 4th grade.
Yeah.
Well, there was the 5th and 6th grade were in the same room, and I thought I was really getting away with something. I walked past the 5th graders, went over and sat down in the 6th grade part.
Mm-hmm.
And school was getting close to over, and I studied hard. I skipped the 5th grade and passed the 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next year went to the 7th grade.
That's good.
And there was a lady in town that tutored me when we first got here, helped get me caught up, and she didn't charge a thing. People were generous in those days. They'd help each other. And so then by the time I got into the 7th grade, the kids were growing and they got a little more closer to my size, and I didn't feel so out of place then. But I passed every year then.
Yeah.
And then started high school, went to the 9th grade in Coggin, and then my mother got a job over in Monticello, and so I moved over there with her and went 2 years there, 10th and 11th grade, and then moved back to Coggin again and did the 12th grade, graduated here
Okay.
in 1940.
1940.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, what a boring story.
Well, yeah. No, that's
Boring.
crazy about especially the crook that you lived with, this Mr. Bell.
Yeah.
That's weird. So he was starting fires.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
That's why they didn't catch on to him. Because he'd always move after we had a fire.
Yeah. So you were 21 when you graduated?
Yeah.
20?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met Lawrence, fell in love with him like an idiot, you know. He was,
How did you meet him?
well, he was running the theater, see.
In Coggin?
The shows. And when I was in the 12th grade, I was in the home ec room, and there was windows there, and I could look out, and I saw him walking across the street from the theater over to some business there. And oh, this is how I met him. My Uncle Joe, I was staying with Uncle Joe and Aunt Lena, and he was working at the theater for Lawrence, helping remodel or something.
This is Uncle Joe Curtis, right?
Yeah, Joe Curtis. And so I met him. That's how I met him. And we just kind of took a shine to each other. You know, he was 27 years old, and I was only 21.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not so bad. And we started going together then.
Mm-hmm.
You just thought he was so handsome?
Oh, he was so handsome and tall and dark and handsome. And he was a good guy, and he was working hard and supporting his mother, because she lost her husband when Lawrence was only, I don't know, 8 or 9 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he was supporting his mother. And we started going together, and, well, you know the rest. Out came 5 boys. Pop, 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 pop.
They're good-looking boys, too.
But look at the descendants, how good looking they are.
I know.
Yeah.
Brett showed me a picture of his grandpa John. Said he's Quite a fox.
Yeah,
He's very handsome.
yeah.
Some good-looking kids there.
Well, what do you think about it, huh?
Were you guys always on David's farm? Is that where you started when you and Lawrence were together, or did you start?
Let's see. No, we lived in town for a while. We lived with his mother because she couldn't be left alone. She was deaf.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were living with her and taking care of her. And then,
Wait.
and then she finally got sick and she had heart trouble of some kind. And we took care of her till she died. And then we bought a little house down at the north end of town. We call it the little place, now,
Mhm.
the little house. I don't know if you know where that is.
No, is it still up?
Yeah, it's still there.
Okay.
People are living in it.
Uh-huh.
So we bought that house for $350.
Wow.
$500.
Well, still.
Yeah, $500, and then we fixed it up, and then he was an electrician, and he was also running the shows, the theater, and then we finally bought another house in town, a lot bigger, and lived there for a while, and then we bought the farm.
Mm-hmm. Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
No, that's when I went to the 4th grade, Russia.
Mm-hmm.
That was the last time I went to school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about when you lived on the reservation? How do you think? I don't know. Like, how do you think that affected your life? It's
Well,
a very
see,
different kind of place.
We were at a dormant stage. It was just a matter of existing,
Mm-hmm.
and we had nothing. And that was the beginning of the Depression
Mm-hmm.
years.
In the 20s?
Huh?
In the 20s?
That was around what year was that about?
I guess that would have been the 30s.
That would have been. Let's see. We left there, and we came to Coggin in 33. So when
Late.
did it start? We were always
Late 20s?
We didn't know the difference. We never did have it.
Sure.
And so we didn't know the difference. But when we were on the reservation, we raised a big garden. Us kids, they put us to work, and
Mhm.
we didn't know any difference. You
Yeah.
know, we never knew anything until we came to Coggin. Then we realized how dumb we were.
What tribe was on that reservation? Do you remember?
I'm not sure, but they lived in shacks. We didn't see much of them.
Mm.
We'd see them going along the road in the team and wagon, you know, but they never came up to our place much. But there was a mission in Pine Ridge. That was about 8 miles from where we lived.
Mhm.
About all it was a post office and maybe a store or something, and a school for the Indians.
Yeah.
And one time, some of the Indian girls they got homesick, and they wanted to go home, and they ran away, and they stopped at our place on the way. But they could speak English.
Yeah. Well, relax now.
And then there was a young Indian man. We had a cow and we had milk and stuff.
Mhm.
And I remember him riding his horse to our place, and we'd give him milk. And he'd be sitting on his horse there. He didn't even get down off his horse.
Mhm.
But he'd visit with us, you know, and we'd hand him the milk. And his name was Cyrus Running Hawk.
Cyrus Running Hawk.
Yeah,
That's kind of a cool name.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
The Indians had strange names, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember we didn't even have shoes to wear through the winter.
Ooh.
As kids, we'd be just sitting in the house around the stove to keep warm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Crazy life.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's weird. I always think about like what it would have been for you. I mean, like, you know, it was such a different time. I mean, it was almost 100 years ago.
Oh, I know
You
it.
know?
I know it.
And,
And we didn't have a well there. We had to, in the wintertime, we'd melt snow on the stove in the big boiler, use that for cooking and washing clothes and all that stuff.
yeah.
And they finally got a well driller up there. They drilled a well. But there's somebody, oh, that was.
Yeah.
That's.
Joan and David.
Yeah. They drilled a well, but it was down in a ravine because it was so deep. They couldn't do it up on where the house was.
Mm-hmm.
And us kids had to go down there and pump water. And, oh, that pumped hard. It took 2 people to pump it.
Yeah.
And we'd carry it up the hill to the house.
It's like Jack and Jill.
Yeah.
Up to,
Jack and Jill went up the hill. Crazy.
wow.
I don't know why I'm telling you all this nonsense.
Because I want to hear it.
You wanted to hear it.
Yeah. I'll ask you a
Pam was
question.
always wanting to hear stuff. Washboard hanging in the sewing room in
Yeah.
there.
Oh, it's good for.
Did you make butter?
circulation.
From your
we
cow?
made butter, yeah. We didn't have a real churn. We'd put it in a 2-quart jar and just swoosh it back and forth till it turned to butter.
I do that.
Lindsay does that.
Oh,
I like it.
yeah.
It's
That
a
was
good way to keep your hands busy.
Yeah.
When she found out that she was pregnant, she had to find some way to like keep a secret
Yeah.
and keep her excitement in.
Yeah.
So she made butter that night.
Wow.
Waiting for me to come home, she sat there and made butter. That was-
I was so nervous and excited.
Yeah.
So I just had to keep my hands busy so I wouldn't think about it or call him and tell him too early.
yeah, she wanted to surprise me, so she was waiting until I got home. She had to do something, so she made butter.
Gosh, isn't that cute? Oh, that's precious.
Yeah.
Oh, she's sound asleep now.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, I have to get Madeline here soon.
Okay.
We have to stop in Coralville in Iowa City and pick up Madeline and
Oh.
take her to my parents' house. So.